Welcome and thank you for joining me today. I'm going to set up my screen share. Second. Wonderful. Perfect. I hope everyone can see the screen well. I'm very excited to be here today and talk to you about a project that I'm very passionate about and that helped inspire other projects. I'm Valeria McFerrin, and today we're going to talk about using data for social good. And I'm going to start off by telling you a little bit about the icon that you see there and the name Chasqui Global. And I was born and raised in La Paz, Bolivia, and many of you may have learned about this in history lessons. The Chasqui, it was the Incan messenger that delivered messages efficiently and effectively through the Incan Empire. And we thought that that was a good icon that described the work that we do. And Chasqui came to be after I was working with the US government for close to 10 years, overseeing communications in 24 countries. And I created this new agency's results framework and realized that there was a big need and space for using that framework of using communications and data for improved decision making and better engagement, advocacy, and communications products. So that's how we came to be, and that's a big part of the work that we do now. And sorry, this screen is not working to share. Okay, perfect. So today we're going to talk about how data can improve the world. And it's been a true honor to be able to hear about all these other projects over the past 2 days that are using artificial intelligence and machine learning and all this incredible technology to capture this data and really change the world. Today's session is taking a different angle. And this is more on the communication side, the so what. So what, you have this data, you were able to do all this work, and so how can you engage those stakeholders, a lot of them who you took the data from, to create social good and broader impact, and at the same time empower them with these data skills that they may not have had previously. The 3 projects that we're going to talk about are in 3 different countries. The first is going to be in Tanzania. As you can see here, it's this incredible project that I lead communications on, the Data Collaborative for Local Impact. And this is the project that helped inspire the work that we're going to talk about with the United Way and Girls in Tech in Guyana. And this project was implemented by Tanzania Bora and the Data Lab. And the Data Lab is an incredible organization that I encourage all of you to learn more about. They're doing amazing work in Tanzania and East Africa, training and inspiring youth to use with data skills. And they received so much support that they even started the first Masters of Data Science in East Africa. And this is the partnership with the University of Dar es Salaam. So I really encourage you to check them out. The second is Girls in Tech in Guyana, as you can see in the dot there. And the third is the United Way right here in Charlottesville. In Tanzania, 64% of the population is under 24 years old, which is crazy if you think about it. It's a very young country and continent as a whole. And so with this project, we were trying to, engage youth and capture some national data to improve, health and really contribute to economic growth. And so we decided to work with this local organization that had all this trusted network and all these other organizations that they worked with to really meet youth where they are. So instead of doing, more of the traditional development type projects, we decided to go into fashion, art, and music. which was a really incredible way to and make data come alive and meet youth where they were. How we did this was we empowered these fashion designers with data skills and trained them on one, where to find data. And there's a lot of open source and then government places where you can find this data. Then sometimes some are more open and free and accessible than others, and that was something that we were also working on the project. But using the existing data that we had, and it trained them on how their designs could be used for that. The data that they used in this case was captured through listening campaigns that the project went through, and captured all these different insights and pain points from the communities of what it was that they were actually being affected, that were impeding their economic growth. And so based on those insights, they were able to, we validated the information, the designer learned how to clean that data and share those results through their designs. So you got dozens of submissions, and here are some of the examples that you will see are extremely powerful. It's one of the designs, 30 regions, the one on the left, 50 million people. We stand and put a stop to female genital mutilation. And you can see the rose with the Gillette there, a very powerful image. The second is that 1 out of 9 girls between the age of 15 to 18 will get pregnant. And these designs that they put together were for kangas, which are these traditional cloths that are passed down through generations. And as part of these designs, there was a hotline and a number that was on the bottom, so that if you saw this and you could relate to it and be like, oh man, like, okay, I too am getting abused. Who should I call? This is not okay. There was a hotline there, and these cloths are passed down, which is also a really powerful way of having a communication tool that lives on through generations. These are the 2 top winners. So Saeed had this repeating design of the 3 pieces of shattered glass that you can see there, with one of the pieces that is coded in red. That represents 1 out of 3 women in Tanzania who have experienced sexual violence in their lifetime. And the tagline here was, "Don't judge me for what I've gone through." The other is from Winifreda, that has 3 unripe oranges, with 1 being peeled, and it represents 1 out of 3 women aged 15 to 49 in Tanzania who have ever experienced sexual violence. And it says, "I'm not ripe, don't pick me." Very, very powerful messages, especially tagged with these data points to show how pervasive this problem is in these communities. And then the winning design is this one, which is the repeated design that you can see there. 1 out of 2 women married women are abused, and the line says, "If you keep quiet, they will make you cry." And it's really powerful, data points, and especially if you have been abused, it's not 1 out of 20, it is 1 out of 2. And so we decided to use this winning design and create a fashion show. And it was one of the coolest experiences of my career, because usually in a lot of the projects that we've used, it's either a ribbon cutting or something more traditional, and I had never thought of data and fashion coming together. And as these famous fashion designers were using these cloths, 7 of them, to make all these different designs. So it was a very incredible, diverse group of stakeholders, from fashion designers, the communities that this data had come from, donors, government officials. It was a very diverse audience. But as this was happening, and the explanation of the design and the data came to life, it was incredible to see people nodding around, and really understanding what it meant to have this data in action and seeing it come to life. So as part of, so much of capturing data, it tends to sometimes be this extractive resource that then you never know where it's going and what has happened to it. So we are very intentional about then going back to the communities and letting them know what had happened with that data and what had been done with the designs, and giving them this with also additional information of, some of the other resources and activities that are going to go to specifically address these different pain points. In addition to that, I mentioned music was one of the key pieces of, engaging youth and meeting them where they are. And so and that local organization worked with local musicians that were well known in those different areas, and wrote songs using these different data points to bring awareness to the different problems, and in addition to that, showcase different options. In this case, this song was about drug abuse, which was one of the key pain points that had been identified during those listening campaigns. And the third were the murals. Painting all these data-driven stories about sexual health in areas that were well trafficked by, children, families as they were going to school every day, because those were the different pain points that had been identified, and in those specific communities. And again, those were painted by local artists. The data effect that came out of this were that some of the different fashion designers that had been peaked, they went into fashion not thinking that they were going to get data skills, and getting their interest peaked in this whole other space. They started incorporating what they learned in other things. So this one designer got hired to work at a lodge, and they incorporated their skills, and they learned where they could access information on tourism data, and they realized that the majority of the tourists that go to this particular area in Arusha go to see in Maasai villages and Maasai communities. So they designed this with that in mind. So it was a data-driven approach to fashion, which is really cool. And then the next is right here in Charlottesville. I'm not sure how many of you are local, but we partnered with the United Way to help create these community tables. And so this was an effort to enable these conversations between people in the community that were built on trust and respect. And for one of the latest ones that we did, we were inspired by this work, that we had done in Tanzania, and created this data mural with some of the key data points from Charlottesville. Some that are not well known, like 1 in 6 people don't know where their next meal is coming from, especially because Charlottesville is also known to have some of the more millionaires per capita. And so it was good to put this juxtaposition of all these different data points, especially as you're having this conversation within the community, and to be like, hey, did you know this? To bring awareness, to also dig deeper into it, and forge these conversations of what people's backgrounds may be, what that information may be. So really putting that data up front and making it actionable. And the third example is here in Guyana. As you can see, there's an incredible a group of women entrepreneurs that are just, desiring more data and skills in this space, and technology to be able to, do more micro businesses. And they engaged us through Girls in Tech to create a survey across the country to understand these gaps. And so we created the survey and captured all the different insights. And this is one of the infographics with the summary points that came out of it. And it was really incredible how these data points really showed the gaps in technology needs for the country. And it really empowered different women's organizations to use that, to ask for these additional resources based on these pain points that had been captured, and then also for the government then to meet them and be like, hey, we had no idea about this, let's figure out what we can do. So it was neat how we didn't know how this data was going to come alive, and it did in different ways and was used for different stakeholders in different creative ways. And so what I want you to take out from today is that there are ways to make data actionable, and if I can take it to a next step, even cool. It's been incredible to see how this data has come into action and at play and has inspired groups that you would have never thought would be in this space. I really encourage you to look into our website, both Chasky Global, but also DCLI.co. We have over 50 use stories about examples like this, both in Tanzania and Cote d'Ivoire, of how data has been used for improved decision making, at the subnational level, at the really core community levels, and in creative ways like this really inspire change. And so it's really complementary to a lot of the conversations that we're hearing today in terms of capturing this data, how to find it, how to use it through machine learning and artificial intelligence, and in this case the importance of also communicating and engaging the owners of those who have the data and have provided it. So I really appreciate you taking time today to listen to these incredible examples that have truly inspired all of us. And there's a Q&A option in a room that the organizer is going to share, so we can continue these conversations, and I can answer any questions. Thank you very much.